This is Master Naofumi Iwatani. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. With the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place, this message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Do not return to the temple. That time has passed and our future is uncertain. Avoid detection, be secret, but be strong. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships, but we must preserve and persevere. And in no time, I believe a new hope will emerge. And may the Force be with you always. Naofumi was a Jedi, or is a Jedi. Someone that would teach others and learn the ways of the Force, pure within the Force. During this message, telling everybody in the Jedi Order that we all have fallen, and that they must stay in hiding, Naofumi begins writing after he just spoke into his transponder. He begins writing something down to make sure that he records everything he does from here on out for the future generations. And as he begins to write this, he sees that his paper begins to glow, that it begins to change and morph, and it seems as if the words begin to change as well. A light glows all around him, and the Jedi Master is transported away from the place of his home, at least currently, and also the place he's hiding. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back with a brand new What If. What if Naofumi was the legendary Jedi hero? And yeah, I think I had this idea for a while, but I just never really did it. I just get caught up in other ideas that I think are awesome. But yeah, with that said, I'm not really going to waste much more of your time, and we're going to get right into the What If. Let's get it. Naofumi Iwatani, the Jedi in his home world, is summoned to a brand new place, somewhere he isn't so sure about, and when he looks around, he sees various other people, noblemen of some sorts, that look very, very different. Very different than anyone he really sees on the ordinary, but not too different to the fact that he has seen some odd-looking aliens. But this feels like a simple planet. A planet of people that would look very similar to him, but these people that he's looking at actually look like they're part animal, maybe even part beast. Maybe they'd be going by some sort of name, like demi-humans. Well, Naofumi looks around, and it seems as if he was summoned here for a reason. And noblemen from the, country of what's known as Siltvelt begins to introduce themselves, saying that they need Naofumi to protect them, that there is waves coming, waves that will destroy everything if they are not ready for them, and Naofumi is not sure how to even react. Looking to his side, seeing that he does have his lightsaber, but as he pulls it out, trying to activate it, he can't actually activate it. It seems like it's missing a kyber crystal, and he's going to have to get one. But he's not so sure about even what's going on, and asking how he even got here. The noblemen begin to explain to him that he was summoned here from another world to save their world. Naofumi then asks them if they understand who he is exactly, and they don't really understand the question, just saying that he's one of the heroes, one of the four. And he basically just says that he was a Jedi of some sorts in his other world, and now he's kind of missing the kyber crystal out of his lightsaber. But that is the main source of how he will fight and how he will defend them. But the real question is, where are the other heroes? And they begin saying that something occurred. That they assume that Melremark actually broke their basically pact, that they wouldn't just summon all the heroes at once, but luckily they were able to summon one of them as well before it could actually occur. But the only thing is Naofumi isn't the most ordinary summoning. It seems like he didn't come with the weapon that would be predestined. He actually came with something else. Naofumi then thinks of a lot of different outcomes that could or could not obviously happen, and even questions them slightly about what if he is actually the only one out of the four that's, you could say, don't really belong. But on top of that, he may not even be part of the quote-unquote four. They ask what is he talking about, and he says that there could be a chance that, and this wouldn't be too outlandish, that those four heroes were summoned over there at Melremark, and he was summoned here. So there could be basically a copycat version of himself. And they're not so sure about this whole idea because every person is different and that he is summoned with a different, weapon. And he just says that it's a theory, and frankly he doesn't know this world as well as they do, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, at least for now. And they say that of course they will, and they begin assigning him party members, but he quickly shoots them down, saying that he kinda needs his own pathway, his own way of gaining people and strength, and he'll most likely take them up on the idea or the use of party members, but just not for now. He wants to figure some things out before he does anything. So that's exactly what he does. Naofumi begins basically getting money or basically just regular supplies from them and goes out to basically level up. He's learned from all the noblemen that there's this odd leveling system that he has, and he begins learning more and more about it. And in terms of the Kyber crystal that he would normally need, that's actually not the case. Actually, at a level of 10, he's able to activate his lightsaber. It seems like it works in terms of levels, and he's not the master of his lightsaber or the master Jedi he once was, but it does seem like he can still control the Force, just not his lightsaber, and not through the use of a Kyber crystal. So he uses the Force to try his best to defeat various monsters, and he's forced to actually kill them. But with that said, he continues this training and leveling up over the course of a couple days. Using just the Force to kill and strangle things seems to have a limited output on it, and he personally feels like his Force powers are even weaker in this world. Assuming that they'll get stronger at least when he's leveling up, he's not too worried about this, but luckily he's able to get to a level of 10 in about 5 days or so. Finally being able to activate his lightsaber, in which he does, the blue lightsaber then appears. He begins swinging it around, feeling that it does feel heavy. Like this world feels so much different than he's ever felt before, but he doesn't really take that too much into account as he continues to slay monster after monster. But while he does this, someone is actually watching from nearby. It seems like one of the beast people that live in Siltvelt is currently watching him, and when he's actually training, she dives in and goes toward him, asking him where and when did he even arrive. He explains that he arrived about 5 days ago, that he was one of the quote-unquote heroes that were summoned, in which he doesn't necessarily understand, but he's here to try his best to help. She basically mocks him because of this, saying that he looks weak and that frankly they don't really need a hero's help, and that she can handle it. He turns around and is shocked to see this lady looking very similar to someone he once knew, but that's actually not the same person. Actually, she goes by something similar to the name, but her name is just Shoko, in which Naofumi stares at her for a second, in which she questions why he's even doing that, but he just shakes his head, saying that she looks familiar to someone he once knew. He asks if she can use a lightsaber, if that's another weapon of some sorts, but she shakes her head, saying that there is no lightsaber, that it seems like he's the only one with that said weapon. Naofumi nods and realizes that he may have this unique weapon, but maybe he can somehow make others not as strong as his, and maybe not in terms of development, but something that could benefit them. He even asks Shoko what type of weapon she uses, and she says that she uses a katana, mostly, and that she was actually the one that helped Siltvelt defend against the first wave. and he proceeds to ask her if she would be able to actually join him on this journey that he'd greatly appreciate it. She's not so sure if she wants to do this, but she actually decides to join him, thinking that this could be beneficial for her, especially with leveling up and training under, well, one of the heroes. She only really worries about leveling up based on being with one of the heroes, because that would be beneficial for herself, not beneficial for them together. But this idea and this attitude will slightly change throughout the entirety of his stay. Their training continues on, and Naofumi continues to learn more and more about Siltvelt, Shieldfrieden, and various other countries, but mostly and most important, well, Melromark. Naofumi continues to learn more and more about these heroes that were summoned over there. 4 heroes: sword, spear, shield, bow. He doesn't really understand why he was summoned, at least to Siltvelt, and then had a totally different weapon. Yes, it does relate to him being a Jedi, but based on everything he knows about this world, he shouldn't have been summoned. Maybe he would be some sort of vessel, quote-unquote hero, but why was he summoned with said weapon? He's not totally and utterly sure about this, but a lot of information would arise when he meets someone very specific while training with Shoko. The Queen of Melromark arrives in Siltvelt to apologize for them summoning all 4 of them, but the people to meet her are not only the nobles of Siltvelt, but also Naofumi, the legendary Jedi hero. He walks up to her and even questions why they even summoned all 4 of them, and she says that the king did it while behind her back, and well, Naofumi understands this to a certain extent, complains slightly that they did put a lot of other countries in jeopardy, and now he is practically the only hero that is off of their country that needs to protect other countries. And she's confused. Other hero? Yes, I'm another hero that was summoned. Did you not hear of me? She says that she had no clue, that she originally thought only 4 heroes would be summoned, but for some reason during the midst of this, Naofumi was summoned. But she hears the name of this person. Naofumi? Naofumi Iwatani? Yeah, how do you know my last name? Because, well, we have a Naofumi as well. He's the shield hero. Naofumi is obviously shocked to hear this. He hypothesized something of this regard, but he wasn't sure if he was going to be right. It was kind of that 5% type of thing. There was only a 5% chance, frankly, of him being correct about this. But even with that said, he explains to the Queen of Melromark that they all need to start splitting up, helping other countries. He's helping Siltvelt currently, and he's actually going to help Shieldfrieden. He's talked to the noblemen, and they actually believe that Shieldfrieden will be in need of help. And Naofumi has actually been talking with them over the course of this last 5 to 7 days about reconjoining with Shieldfrieden. They're not too friendly with the idea, but Naofumi hopes that they can warm up to it in the next month or so, at least after the first wave. And the Queen of Melromark says that she will give her support as best as she possibly can to Siltvelt and the other countries, on top of giving Naofumi some support, especially being with the lone hero in this country. And Naofumi thanks her for that, but hopes that he won't need that help she's going to offer. Naofumi says his goodbyes after, I would say, about a couple days of her being there, but at the end of the day, he needs to actually level up and train. But he believes that the queen has left, and during his training she actually approaches him once more and begins to speak with him about the demi-humans, about demi-humans being taken away for slavery, and that even in Melromark there is such a thing. He asks how many demi-humans are actually enslaved, and she explains that there is an abundance of either enslaved demi-humans or beast people. And he is kind of frustrated by this, but says that he can try and figure it out, and maybe they can be in contact very soon to save some of these demi-humans and get them out of captivity. She agrees with this and says that they will meet once again after the first wave. Naofumi nods and continues his training with Shoko, learning various techniques and actually learning how to use his lightsaber even better in this world, Everything is slightly different, but he will say that arguably it is very easy to kill a lot of these monsters, and there isn't really much of a challenge to this. Siltvelt does approach him, or at least the noblemans approach him about getting more party members, but he slightly denies this, saying that he has a party member, a beast person in Shoko, that should be beneficial enough. She's very skilled, and it should be, well, relatively easy for this first wave to go down. He promises that he will have it all handled. As he continues to basically destroy monster after monster, the leveling process is not too difficult, especially with the motivation that both him and Shoko have at this time, getting him up to at least a level of almost 40 before the first wave actually begins. He goes to their very own Dragon Hourglass in Siltvelt to check how much time is left, seeing that there is only about 48 hours until that next said wave. He talks to Shoko about preparations. Maybe they should get some healing things and talk with the army or the government or military, obviously, of Siltvelt to see what they should do to defend against this wave. She explains that the military of Siltvelt is extremely strong, so if she stays here, he can head down to Shield Frieden and probably have pretty good success nonetheless. He asks if she'd be okay with just being on her own, and she promises that she would be. Over this course of a month, they have bonded and gotten closer. Obviously, Naofumi has someone in his world that is very similar looking to her, and has a very similar personality as well. She's more or less hard on the outside, basically showing this front, but after they got to know each other, she is a nicer and more well-rounded person all in general. So that's the plan. Naofumi decides that he'll leave her there, and they tell noblemen about it as well, asking if that would really be okay, and she says the combination of her and the rest of their military, this wave will be a piece of cake, giving Naofumi the way of trying to help other people. But nonetheless, they do decide to send a couple other military units with Naofumi just in case. If, well, Shoko is as good as they speak, she should be okay, at least here on her own, with just limited military help. They all agree, and he heads down to Shield Frieden for the next 48 hours. He begins to meet with all the noblemen of Shield Frieden and explains that where he came from, explaining that he came from Siltvelt and he was a summoned hero. They question, well, he doesn't really have one of the weapons that they were expecting. How is he one of the summoned heroes? He explains that they really don't know either. It seems like the other four were summoned to Melremark, but it is kind of odd that he was summoned with a different weapon. He doesn't question it though. He begins saying that it doesn't matter as long as he can protect their countries, in which they agree as well, saying that if he does his job, it really won't matter at the end of the day, and they promise to actually provide him anything possible that he needs, in which 48 hours pass, healing, stuff like that, and anything they really need for this wave, military support from Shield Frieden, long-range attackers, they're all ready to go. And as the entire sky becomes purple, covered in portals, tons of monsters begin to roll out, slowly but surely. Monster after monster begins to arrive, but Naofumi is on the task of fighting the main boss. When he arrives, it actually seems to be this giant Rengar. It seems odd. He's seen these other monsters in his world, but why would one be here now? Maybe every boss monster around the world or around this world in every country is different, but it's weird that it feels like everything is relating so heavily to his home world. But even with that said, he doesn't really have a choice in fighting it. He fights the smaller monsters that he needs to fight, being that there's like zombies, skeletons, these weird hornet looking creatures that he hasn't really seen much. But the Rengar is the main problem. But even that problem isn't ginormous. He's able to subdue it relatively easily with a couple slashes with his lightsaber, cutting through it like it's butter, making so that he clips off the limbs that the Rengar has, leading to him more or less finishing it off with one big slice and a slam using the Force, forcing it up into the air and slamming it back down. He looks at his hands and even his lightsaber, realizing how strong he's actually gotten. Training on the lower level monsters made him feel like he was getting complacent, as if he wasn't getting that much stronger, but it does seem like he has. maybe even stronger than he was in his homeworld. This whole leveling video game system, he doesn't really understand it much, but the whole high-tech value out of it, it does seem very beneficial. It seems right after he defeats this monster though, the wave begins to end. He heads back to the center of Shield Frieden to speak with the noblemen there, speaking with them about actually combining back with Siltvelt, and it would make it very, very easy to defend them. And they do think about it, but they say that they've been able to handle the waves on their own as well. Yes, obviously Naofumi has made this way easier, but they have been able to handle it on their own, and the ideals between Siltvelt and Shield Frieden will continue to clash. And Naofumi agrees and understands the whole political side of things, and he just wants them to keep it in mind. Maybe some agreements can be found between both of them, not just one entire side, and then they can become one nation, a powerful one that will be able to defend themselves a lot easier. But it's just an idea, and there's nothing to rush into, at least at the moment. Naofumi says his goodbyes, and he's actually rewarded for all the help, and he heads back up towards Siltvelt. When he arrives, everything seems to be a little bit battered, but nothing too worse for wear. And he speaks with Shoko, which she did a really good job during this time, and everybody else at Siltvelt thanks him and Shoko for all the help. He says that it's really no problem, but there is something he wants to get around to. He's heard that Melremark has these slaves. Slavery of, well, their people. And they all say that they've heard about this to be true as well, that they've been rebuilding, and so has Shield Frieden, because of all these waves. So there might have been some people that were gone or lost and put through the cracks because of that war. And Melremark is known for having demi-humans as slaves, in which Naofumi doesn't really like the idea of this by any means, and decides to head down there, putting his lightsaber in his side pouch and beginning to leave with Shoko. He says that he will be back far before the next wave begins to not worry, and that he'll get the training he needs out elsewhere toward Melremark. During this time, he does have a lot of traveling to do. He travels further and further, eventually stumbling across a nearby place. It seems like a place past Siltvelt and also past Shield Frieden. There's this odd house. It's a nobleman by the name of Van Richnot. He introduces himself, but Van Richnot already knows who Naofumi is, hearing of the hero of Siltvelt and Shield Frieden itself, this person that wields a glowing light and that slices through things as if it was a laser beam. And he pulls out his weapon, showing Van Richnot, saying that this is known as a lightsaber, and it definitely does slice through things like a laser beam. And he asks if he could, check it out and maybe see him slice through that table over there. He does just that, and it literally slices through as if it was a burn mark, and just like it was clean butter. And he's shocked to see this, saying that a weapon like that is extremely powerful, and to make sure not to use it in the wrong ways. And Naofumi says that he promises he will not do such a thing, not ever. And he's been raised, and he's been training others in the way of the Force, in which Van Richnot isn't sure what he means by the Force, and he explains that the Force is all around them. It's this entity that is free-flowing, and he asks if it's like the air, and, he says it's sort of that. That's a more simplistic way of thinking about it, but the Force is like a living, breathing entity in itself that is always surrounding you. He asks him to watch, and he begins to levitate and use the Force on the table that he just sawed in half. He's shocked to see this, asking if there's various other things that he can use, at least in terms of the Force, and he says yes. And then Van Richnot asks the most important question that, he's been thinking. Can anybody use this so-called Force? And Naofumi, ironically enough, hasn't even really thought about this, looking at Shoko, thinking that maybe he can teach her how to use the Force, and maybe he can teach other people to use the Force as well. This does bring in a dilemma, though, that people could use the dark side of the Force, and actually slip from their morals, so Shoko would probably be the only person he would originally test this on. And he even asked her if she wants to try and learn, in which she's totally down for, in which she questions why he didn't even ask her to basically learn this before, he kind of just explains that he kind of didn't even think about it at that time. But with all that said and done, Van Richnot basically guides them the way to Melremark, but tells them to be careful because there are some people over there that are very, let's say, not so friendly. He's heard some things, some really bad rumors about the so-called shield hero, but he's not so sure if they are even real. He's heard through the grapevine that, well, they are all kind of made up and a lie. And as basically the lord of tons and tons of demi-humans, everybody enjoys the presence of the shield hero. The shield hero of, well, the past has always been so good to them. So it is odd to think that the shield hero would do such a thing. And Naofumi isn't really sure. He doesn't know too much about them, but he has heard about the clashes between Melremark and the shield hero. But he says to not really worry about it because that's not why he's here. He's not necessarily here to fight. He's actually here to check out some other things and check out the slavery that he's basically heard about. And he heads off to see what's going on, and when he's arriving, he actually arrives at a nearby village. This village seems to be really sick and under this weird disease. He's not so sure what's going on, but he begins to sense this evil force up upon the mountain, and he walks over and enters the building, asking if everybody is okay, and they ask him if the job is finished. Did he do it? And Naofumi's confused. What do you mean? Did I do what? They're actually shocked, and they ask where his shield went, and he's beginning to realize what they mean. The person that is the shield hero must be the duplicate that looks exactly like him. He looks at the rest of them, flipping his lightsaber and then activating it, telling them that he is not the shield hero, that he is from a different place. He's from Siltville, and that he's a hero over there. And they're confused, they're shocked. Another hero? They've heard rumors of a person, this lightsaber-like Jedi hero that helped Siltville, but they didn't know it was true, that he looked just like the shield hero? And he asks then where the shield hero is and heads up the mountain to come to basically meet him. When he arrives, he sees basically this giant dragon fighting and then swallowing one of the shield hero's teammates, and it seems like the shield hero is about to lose his mind, erupting in this new aura, and his armor begins to change, and he activates his curse series, inflaming the dragon and begins to burn it to a crisp. But in terms of this, he begins to lose his sanity. A demi-human by the name of Rautalia walks over to him to calm him down, and when she does such a thing, she actually gets hurt immensely, burning herself really bad and needing some vital attention. Naofumi runs up with Shoko and basically begins to speak with his duplicate and the person that is on the ground, almost unconscious. He runs over, and Naofumi, or at least the shield hero, begins to kind of get confused. By the way, breaking the fourth wall, I'm going to be referring to Naofumi as the shield hero Naofumi, as just the shield hero. It'd be easier, just so you guys know. Okay, back with the story. The shield hero asks what he is doing here, and why does he look just like him? Naofumi explains that, well, he kind of is him, but just from a different world, and a world that he would never understand, but that's not really the point. He asks if everything is okay, and Naofumi begins to question what even happened there. The shield hero then tells him that Rautalia is extremely hurt, that they need to get her out of here now so that they can get her some medicine or something to cure her, but Naofumi walks over and waves his hand toward Rautalia and begins to sense all the evil within her, or at least the evil in terms of the burns, needing quote-unquote holy water, but he does feel the sense that he might be able to cleanse her using the Force, focusing more and more, and it seems like he was able to do just that. The darkness of the flames and the burn marks begin to subside, and the darkness gets plunged into the air and just evaporates into nothingness. Rautalia slowly wakes up as the shield hero stares at Naofumi in shock at what he just did, questioning how the hell he even did that. He tells him to not really worry about it, that it's too much of a complicated thing to explain, but he will say that he was able to save her because of this thing called the Force. He won't put too much more into it in terms of detail, but just know that he personally is strong with the Force, and luckily he was able to save and help this young lady. But that's not what Naofumi was even here for. He's actually here to speak with the Shield Hero, and speak with anybody else he can. The Shield Hero asks what the hell does he even want then, and he says that he wants to free the slaves just like her, that there could be many more in this country, and the Shield Hero says that is something that he will do. And obviously Naofumi is not going to argue with him, saying that he will basically help out anything he possibly can, but doesn't really say much after that. And he begins to ask if he can head to the capital to actually speak with some other of the royalty, in which he does at least follow the Shield Hero in terms of this, in which Philo finds it crazy that there's two of the same person, but they don't really question it very much, and Raphtalia seems to be kind of freaked out by this, staring at obviously the other Naofumi in complete shock as Shoko tells her to keep her eyes to herself. And Naofumi kind of laughs at this and pats Shoko on the back, telling her not to worry so much. They head and they eventually arrive at the capital, but before this they do pick up a little girl that seems to be playing with Filolials by the name of Melty. But Naofumi actually knows who she is. Seeing Melty isn't too surprised about the duplicate Naofumis because she's actually heard about this from her mother. And the fact that Naofumi actually knows who Melty is makes the Shield Hero question why he would even know that, explaining that Melty is a princess. Naofumi says that she is just like the queen, very civil, smart, and important to the kingdom, and he's personally heard about what the king and his daughter has done, and that she is not like the other ones. And the Shield Hero questions if he could be so sure about that, but Naofumi explains that he can, that he is very sure, and that he can sense ill intent with the Force. He can sense evil. That's even how he knew that the Shield Hero was currently fighting that zombie dragon. He sensed it before he even talked to the villagers. And this does put the Shield Hero at ease a little bit. Not too much to the point that he's going to put his guard down, but he definitely does feel a little bit more better about this situation. But even with that said, they bring her back to the capital, and just as they arrive, well, let's just say the Spear Hero Motoyasu attacks the Shield Hero, in which, well, Naofumi is confused by, and when he goes to strike Naofumi, he blocks it with his lightsaber and kicks him away. Motoyasu is shocked to see this and looking at him with mine, saying that there's two of them. How is there two of them? But Naofumi explains that he is a hero from another country. He's come here to speak with some people about the slavery of demi-humans and that they should be reassigned back to Siltvelt. In which, well, Motoyasu says is fine, and the other two heroes, being Ren and Itsuki, approach and say that they agree with that as well, and that, well, you could say that the Shield Hero does have demi-humans captured right now, and has a slave crest on them. Naofumi looks at the Shield Hero, but Raphtalia says that, like again, she did this by choice. She even got her slave crest back on. And using the Force, he can tell that she is being genuine, and he's happy to hear this, saying that he has a special ability, explaining it to them that he can sense ill intent and sense basically how people truly feel, pointing at all three of them, saying that they have this odd sense to them. Yes, they are good people at heart in a way, and yes, they want to fight off the waves, but they lack sincerity. They lack truth. Why is that? Do they not truly care about this world? Or do they just take it for granted? They're confused at this, and they say, what does, well, the Shield Hero freaking feel like then? And Naofumi looks at him and says that the Shield Hero is broken, pissed, mad at the world, angry, but the only true hero here. He even points at himself, saying that he has not struggled nowhere near as this other Naofumi, and frankly, he wishes not to struggle that much. In his home world, he struggled a lot, lost many family, friends, people that he worked with forever, all gone. He would never want to feel that again, and he can feel that just oozing from the Shield Hero. Whatever they did to him. But as he says this, he's cut off by Mine, saying that, well, the Shield Hero raped her. He looks at Mine and says, no, that's not the case. He can tell by using the Force the deceitfulness in her voice and the deceitfulness in almost everybody in this kingdom. It seems like they're all burying their heads. Well, Naofumi says that he won't be here long. He wants to just get the other demi-humans out of slavery, and then he'll be on his way. And Mine says that that can't happen, but the other 3 heroes disagree. They say that that should be fine, in which Mine has to correct her speech immediately, saying that, oh yeah, it's fine, because of how the other 3 heroes reacted. She doesn't want to blow her cover, but her cover is slightly already blown to a certain extent. Naofumi can see it, the Shield Hero can, and frankly, the only person that can't is Motoyasu, and this would definitely come to part very soon as well. Naofumi continues to talk, eventually getting all of the slaves, at least the demi-humans and beast people that he can, and bringing them and sending them back to Siltvelt, and he tells them that the journey is going to be tough, but they should be able to get them back. In which the Shield Hero says that they can take the other, well, slaves, or the former slaves, back to Siltvelt when he gets the chance, if they just bring them all to Loot Village. But Naofumi says that that's fine. He doesn't mind actually taking them all back, and he has to head back right now anyways, because the wave will be upon them not too long from now. He's been out for a while, a little bit longer than he expected. So he says his goodbyes, explaining that he hopes for the best for the Shield Hero and also the other heroes, but to watch their back. That frankly, some of these people, especially royalty, cannot be trusted. Looking at Mine and leaving, saying that she will definitely be a problem. Raftalia stares as Naofumi leaves and is confused, looking at both the Naofumis that they're so different. That Naofumi, he's so kind, relaxed, but yeah, that the Shield Hero Naofumi is really nice and kind, but not as much as the other one. And maybe that's because of what's going on and what happened to him. But obviously the other Naofumi from the other world, well, he went through a ton as well in his past world. So what even happened to him? But Raftalia can't think of this anymore, as well, the Shield Hero, or the Shield Hero Naofumi, takes them away to go to the Dragon Hourglass. Naofumi then leaves back towards Siltvelt, taking all the slaves that he knows of back. Eventually arriving back at Siltvelt about 24 hours before the next wave, he explains to everybody how he got them all back, but says that there could be more. He's not 100% sure, but he couldn't just make a ruckus and expect to get them all back. In all sincerity, he apologizes, but they say that it's fine, that he did a really good job, and that with the next wave coming so soon, he should take this next 24 hours to level up with Shoko and do the best he possibly can. So that's what they do. They actually head by the orders of the nobleman, or the direction of the nobleman, to a high level training area, or a leveling up area, and he levels up for the next 8 or so hours, and then resting and then getting everything prepped for the waves to come. This time though, the waves will be fought together, with Shield Frieden and Siltvelt together, so this will be able to more or less handle the things as a entire country instead of a split one. So when the wave arrives, Naofumi and Shoko go to attack the main boss. But this main boss isn't too strong. It seems like the main boss is all built on this odd Dutchman and a Soul Eater. But the Soul Eater is defeated, and then another one arrives, but that one's defeated as well. Cut to shreds by Naofumi, who's at a level of about 55 or so at the moment. It wasn't too difficult. Frankly, the advantage was the use of the Force, and the Soul Eater really didn't have an answer for him. Maybe if it was a higher level and more of a brute strength monster, it might have been a harder challenge. But even with that said, they head over back to Shield Frieden, seeing that their boss was handled relatively well, easily as well. In a matter of an hour, both of the country's waves are finished up, done. It seems like the main boss was a piece of cake, but the main problem is still upon them. or more specifically, not upon them, upon Melromark. After a couple days have passed, it seems like the waves went relatively well, but through the grapevine he's heard of the struggles that Melromark had, even with all 4 heroes. But on top of that, he's heard of the attempted assassination of the princess, and that now the shield hero is looking for a way out. At least that's what Naofumi begins to think. But that's not exactly the case. He's trying to not only save Melty, but also get his team the proper leveling up and the training they need, more specifically the Dragon Hourglass. So when Naofumi heads down to Shield Frieden and sees Melromark guards blocking the passageway to Shield Frieden, he approaches them and says that they might want to leave, that they are currently trespassing. And they say that they are not allowed to leave, but as he walks up to them, he waves his hand in front of both of them, saying that they will leave now. And right when he says this, they actually begin to walk away, telling the other guards that they need to go, and that the queen and the king have called them back down, clearing the borders, as it seems that the Shield Heroes party, which includes Melty, has finally arrived at Shield Frieden. Finally have arrived in their quote-unquote safe haven. What will happen next? How will more or less this idea that he kidnapped Melty and took the second princess will fare in this world? And how will Melromark respond to Siltvelt's hero and Shield Frieden's hero more or less taking the side of the shield hero? What will happen when 2 Naofumis combine their forces to make sure everybody is safe? Well, you'll have to find out next time on the finale of What If Naofumi Was the Legendary Jedi Hero. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, comment down below, any suggestions, stuff like that. And this was actually really fun to make. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do. I've been following the timeline so normally recently. I thought this would be a fun way of doing it. It might not be to exactly to canon. I know it's so much different. Him getting summoned to Siltvelt, blah, blah, blah. But maybe some of you like it. Maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you are like, why the hell are there 2 Naofumis? That's all good. I mean, I just kind of like the whole idea of the other 4 getting summoned and him getting summoned alone like this. I feel like it was a cool idea. And maybe if y'all like it and y'all want to see more of this, maybe him getting summoned in different countries, let me know. And yeah, that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.